Hi guys, I hope you are doing well wherever you are. In this unit, we will talk about important abilities that we can use in Premiere Pro, transitions and effects. So stay with us. Before starting, let's know how we can have a solid color background. Indeed, till now we opened photos and videos in Premiere Pro, but what we have to do to have a new background color clip? Color Matte is a feature in Adobe Premiere Pro that is used to create a new background color for a video. It is essentially a blank clip that you can apply any color to. This is particularly useful when you want to create a title screen for a video or when you want to use a specific color as a background for a certain part of your video. To use Color Matte in Premiere Pro, you simply need to go to the New Item button in the Project panel and select Color Matte. A dialog box will appear where you can choose the color you want. Once you've created the color matte, you can drag it onto your timeline and adjust its duration as needed. Let's do it here together. Choose a new item here and then select the color matte. In the color matte dialog box, you can adjust the width and the height of your matte screen and the number of frames per second. Here, we accept the default settings and go ahead. Now pick a color as the background color and choose a name for it. The new matte appears here in the project panel. I drag it into the timeline, so my matte appears in the program panel and I can use it as a background. As it is obvious here, its length is 5 seconds, but you can change its duration depending on your needs. Now you have a blank background media and you can use it. Let's go ahead and bring some text on the background. So I should select Type tool and then type or draw a box to type a few words and edit that text. Here in the toolbox, I have this tool called Type tool. I select this tool, draw a text box and start to type. Now I can use some editing tools, some formatting options via a panel called Essential Graphics. I open it via Window menu and then choosing Essential Graphics. As you can see here, I have this panel here in the top right corner with two different tabs, Browse tab and Edit tab. For example, here you can change your font, increase or decrease its size, adjust alignment, change the line spacing, that we call it leading, change letter spacing, that we call it tracking, and change the space between individual letters, called kerning. I select my text like this, and then I go ahead and change the font. Alright? Also, I can change the size via this small handle or by click dragging here on this number. Anyway, you can change its alignment and also change the letter spacing right here. Let's go ahead and change the color of the text. Here in the appearance section, you can change the color of the inside portion of the text to something like that. You can also change its stroke to have an outline of the text. Now let's add another text on the screen. So again, I add the text and finish. Note that here a new text layer has been created, and it means that you have a new layer, a new row for each text that you add in. Even you can add other kind of layers here, like polygon, like rectangle, and so on. Now let me go ahead and go into the browse option. Here in this tab, Adobe gives you some of the freebies, like free captions, titles, and things like that. You can use them and have some animation on them. So let me use one of them here to see how these templates work. As an example here, I choose this one and bring it here to my timeline, and it'll be shown here. And when I play it, something like this happens. It comes in, depends on the playhead. Even I can change its duration, make it somehow longer or shorter. Now if I want to edit it, I can come here and double click on it, and again in the edit tab I can change the title, change the subtitle, font type, font size, and even the caption background here can be changed. So I do some of these changes here, as you can see, and now you have personalized it. Now let me give you a very important tip here when we are talking about typing, actually when we want to edit our types. If something weird is happening here, it's because of your display setting. And there is a tip here that I wanna read it for you here. It says, just to know that if something weird is happening here, where you can't actually edit your type, it could be because your display is not set to your default display. Indeed, Adobe doesn't necessarily respond well in this case if your display is set to like 125%. And it is not like the native resolution for your counter. So what you could try to do is switch it back to 100%. Alright guys, now let's work with still images. Sometimes you just have photographs and you want to bring them in to make a slideshow, or you want to bring them into your actual video and want to incorporate them into the timeline. Before starting, I want to tell you about some customization here inside of Preferences. So via Edit menu, you can access the preferences here and then select Preferences. And if you're using a Mac, you're gonna click on the Premiere menu in the upper left corner. And what we are going to do is we are going to over to here to the timeline option. In the Preferences dialog box, there are various kind of preset options and you can change them, depends on your needs. As an example here in the still image default duration, you can change number 5 in second to change its duration when you bring it into the timeline. Also here we have our audio and video transition default duration, and we'll talk about it more further. Now let's bring some still images. So I go into where my images are and select those that I want. Drag all together and drop it here in my timeline. As you can see, all durations are 5 seconds. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to create a new sequence. So far we've actually not created new sequences from scratch. Indeed, we've been creating sequences from our images, from our videos, and so on. Now I choose this little new item icon here in my project panel and choose sequence to open new sequence dialog box. Select a name for it and just say OK. Note that how we have a new sequence here in addition to the one that I have here. Now I want to talk about this little guy here called Automate to Sequence. Let me choose some images here, so I come to this icon and click on that. Note that in this dialog box, in the From Kitty.PremirePro section, you can choose the ordering, sort order or selection order. So depending on your ordering, your media will be appear here. You can also change ordering here in Project Panel, and via this option, you're able to have your preferred ordering. Also here we have clip overlap, some default audio and video transitions. So let's keep them to see what happens. Great! As you can see, we have our videos in order with some kind of automatic transitions. Now I'm gonna talk about transitions more here in detail. So to see what is a transition, actually let's see its definition here. A transition is an effect added between pieces of media to create an animated link between them. Transitions are used to move a scene from one shot to the next. Premiere Pro provides a list of transitions that you can apply to a sequence. A transition can be a subtle crossfade or a stylized effect to have not sort of a jumpy move or shift from one scene to the other. So let's see together how we can use transitions. Do you know where do all of my transitions exist? Well, here I select this little workspace icon on the top right corner of the program, and then I select Effects to enable and see it here. As it is obvious, we have a bunch of presets, audio effects, audio transitions, video effects, and video transitions here. So I can get into the video transitions and access different categories. As an example, if you choose page peel, then you can select page peel or page turn as a transition. Or if you extend wipe, you're able to access loads of different types of this category. And if I go over here to dissolve one, then you can see a whole bunch of it, and note that one of them has a blue box around it. And it means that this is the default transition, and we can use this default transition quickly. Alright, now let's go ahead and apply one of these transitions here to see how they really work. So here I choose band wipe, drag it and bring it here between these two clips, and bam! Now we have this transition here, and let's see what's happened when I play it. Oh, it looks fine. And if you don't like it, so you can select it and hit delete to delete it completely. Now let me try another one. Okay. And if you double click on one of these transitions, then you're able to change its duration. For example, here I change it to 5 seconds. So I have the duration for 2.5 seconds on each side. Note that you can also use trimming options to do the same thing. So just see what I do here. You can decrease or increase its length easily. And also you can apply a transition on several clips simultaneously by pressing Shift plus D key. So as you can see here, I have selected several clips, and then here I press Shift plus D and bam! But note that only default transition will be affected. Here, this one is the default one, so if you want to choose another, you should change the default. But how? As simple as possible. Just right-click on the one that you need and select Set Selected as Default Transition. So let me do it here for you. I choose it as default and select clips that I want and finally press Shift-D and finish. As you can see, all selected items have their transition. Alright? Remember that you can also change the transition position, something like that. So here I want to move this transition somehow to the left, as you can see, or to the right. I do it here for you so you are able to adjust its position too. Now that you're familiar with video effects, let me talk about something that gives you more control on your clips. For instance, you can zoom, pan, and totally do some control via a panel called Effect Controls. Here I go to this panel and want to show you some of these controls. So here I choose this panel, and if you don't see it, you can access it via window menu by activating it. Something like this. And depends on the clip that you have selected, you see lots of different options here. For example, here I can decide what should affect. For example, you can affect the motion. It means that you can change the position and scale here. So let me show it here too. I have selected this clip here and do some changes in its size and position. Okay? Something like this. But I want to show you something more interesting here, and it is keyframes. We use keyframes to animate a property. And to animate a property is to change its value over time. In Premiere Pro, effect properties can be animated by assigning keyframes to them. Now let's see together what is the definition of a keyframe. What does a keyframe mean? Let's see it together. Here it says a keyframe marks the point in time where you specify value, such as a spatial position, opacity, or audio volume, to create a change in a property over time. You set at least 2 keyframes, one keyframe for the value at the beginning of the change, and another keyframe for the value at the end of the change. Premiere Pro then creates a gradual change in values between keyframes called interpolation. You can work with keyframes either in the timeline or in the Effect Controls panel. So let's see together how we can use it, how we can use keyframes. Let me show you how it works here. So I select this clip, for example, and let me change its zoom level to 10. Okay. Now I bring my playhead here in the beginning, and as you can see, it is matched with my playhead here in my timeline. And I can see the media here on top. Okay? And here is where my first movement gonna happen. So first thing I should do here is clicking on this small clock here. And I'm telling Premiere that since this keyframe, we can also say since this time something will happen. So let me zoom it a little bit, and as you can see, this small diamond here shows the start point. The problem of that, you want to change the position. Now I'm gonna go to the end of my clip here with pressing down arrow. But note that when I press down arrow, it goes to the first of next clip. So if I press the left button once, it goes to the end of recent clip, and that is where we want to be. Now I change the position here like this, and note that while I'm changing the position, another small diamond appears here. Indeed, I have created keyframe number 1 and keyframe number 2, and have created movement from this point to here. For example, if I move the playhead from this point to the second, you can see that the position number changes smoothly between these 2 points. So let's go ahead and change the scale this time on this little kitty. What I want to do is that I want to start it off from this point. So activate this small icon, and want to do a little bit of zoom in on this funny kitty till this point, till this second point. Okay, let's do it. Alright, and let me again do some transition, some control on these effects. For example, I want to zoom it out again at the end. I want to zoom it out here to this point. Fine. Okay, that's amazing. So here I have some movement, sound scale on this little kitty, and it's funny. But remember that if you want to learn it more, please do more exercise with these controls to understand it more and more. Alright guys, here we did some movement, some change on the scale here on this little kitty, and it was funny. So please do more exercise with these controls to understand it more and more, even learn it better. So please stay tuned and get ready to learn. Alright guys, I hope you have learned something valuable from this. So until the next video, I wish the best for you.